I'm Diana Falzone, and this is 4for4 Science, where we tackle 4 sassy science topics in just 4 minutes. Be amazed. We may have photographic evidence of the iceberg that sank the Titanic. James, is this the iceberg?
You know, 100 years on, Titanic still fascinates. So this is an image purportedly showing that the iceberg that sank the Titanic that's going to be up for auction in the UK this weekend. What's interesting is there is a document next to it that accompanies it, taken by the photographer, which says that he saw red paint along the side of this iceberg. It seems to suggest that maybe this is the one.
I'm not entirely convinced. I think that a red mark on an iceberg could have been from some other source. It could be a discoloration. So I would like to think that it was real, that this is the iceberg, because that's such an amazing historical document, such an amazing glimpse of the past, if it is.
Absolutely, and you think about how photography today, everybody has a smartphone in their pocket, and we criticize people for taking all these selfies, but this is an example when oversharing really did pay off for the future generations to understand what happened in the past. So
there has been some backlash, though, about this purported iceberg that sank the Titanic, that people are saying to collect this picture is rather morbid and that you shouldn't be celebrating the object that caused its demise. Do you hate going to the doctor's office? Well, docs may soon be making hologram house calls. Very futuristic. Sophie, how is this helping ailing patients?
I think this is a really interesting application of technology like holograms and virtual reality, which were originally developed for entertainment and for gaming. And what they're doing is doctors can project their image into a patient's home to have a face-to-face conversation. And this is a great way to keep healthcare personalized without having the inconvenience of having to travel to each other. It just makes it much more accessible.
Mm-hmm. You know, call me a Luddite, but I'm not totally sold on this. Like, when I want to see my doctor, I want to see my doctor. I want that physical contact with them. I mean, what are they going to be able to fully diagnose this way? I'm not really sold on it.
Yeah, I think the other challenge is going to be making sure, when we look at these types of technologies, that they go to the people that really need it, out in rural areas or areas where they don't have access to doctors. And I'm not sure they're going to be the first ones to set up a hologram up on their house on the farm or something like that. But we'll see how it spreads.
Well, I could see Doctors Without Borders using something like this. And sure, like you said, going into the areas that don't have it, poverty-stricken communities, third world countries, it's not really for, I think, the people who can get to the doctor's office because, like you said, you don't have that physical touch of knowing what's really going on. Your dog may have a rich Central Asian heritage. At least that's what several scientists are alleging. Carl, did dogs originate in Mongolia and Nepal?
It's a fascinating question. I think this study it points in that direction. And what's interesting is, we know that dogs came from wolves. The question is where and when. And so by looking at the genes of hundreds of dogs from around the world, even remote places, islands in the southern Pacific Ocean, they're able to find that maybe this is the area where that split occurred. So very, very interesting.
I don't think this is the end of the debate. There have been other studies that have looked at ancient remains instead of modern dogs and that have said, well, maybe dogs are from Europe or maybe they're actually from South Asia. So I think this maybe says more about us than about dogs. It says that we love our pets. We want to know where they came from.
I do like the idea that with this study that they looked at village dogs, kind of these dogs that wander freely in villages and fields. They weren't house pets. So I wonder whether that's given us actually more insight into this whole thing. And I also wonder whether kind of the background of house pets and these village dogs is different.
I'm just wondering what we're going to do with this research, because regardless of where your dog comes from, it is absolutely adorable, no matter what. But I think it was more than just Central Asia. I'm going to hypothesize that it probably was from Europe and other places because you have so many different breeds. Forget naming a star. Now you can name a moth. Well, that does not sound appealing. So, Sophie, are you going to place a bid on naming a bug?
I think this is awesome. If you find a species, you get to be the one to name it. But the researcher who found this species of moth is instead auctioning off the naming rights to it, and he's using the money that's generated. He's going to donate it to a nonprofit park service, one that actually helped him with his research. So this is his way of giving back.
I do think it's a bit of a shame that we've come to this, though. Like, I like the idea that scientists, if they discover something, it gets their name. And I think it's great that the money is going to a worthy cause, but I think it's a shame that science has to go down this road.
Certainly, there's some cynical aspects to it in the sense of we're using an auction platform to sort of drum up this scientific interest. But by the same token, this is a study that might not have moths. It's not like people are so excited about those all the time, as excited as they are about their dogs. So this is a way to take a study that maybe wasn't appealing and make it appealing. And I think that's an interesting approach to science.
Well, this scientist I don't feel so bad for, because I think he's found several species of moths and insects. So for him, it's not really a loss. But I do think that if a scientist works so hard, that if this is really showing the dire straits of science and the funding it needs, and we have to go to this length, it's sad. Now, I know we think, tell us what you think with the hashtag 444 Science.